The last Sunday in February '08. I'm up here at Tahoe, and this is my daughter Rhonda. And Rhonda used to spend a lot of time with her friend Pam over at, what was it called?
Lake Tahoe Wildlife Care. And that's an organization in South Lake Tahoe that was started about maybe 27 or even more years ago. And they care for injured and orphaned wildlife. And
has the same lady been in charge all the time?
Yes. She started it because there was no one to take care of those kind of animals. And their motto is raise, rehabilitate, release. And we've had lots of animals at that place.
And what's that lady's name?
Cheryl Milham and her husband Tom Milham.
I was most impressed when you and Pam were given the responsibility or the opportunity to release a cage with what, 3 or 4
raccoons.
Raccoons. Had you raised those? Had they raised those from babies?
Yes, they had very small babies. And an interesting fact about raccoons that most people don't know is they purr like cats. But I remember that incident. Yeah, we had them, and they were ready to be released. So we took them to an area where there was a small grass lake, and it was you and me and Mom and Pam, and we had them in a carrier, a large dog carrier type thing, and they were all in there together. And we drove and drove and drove out there on that dirt road, and Pam found a good spot so that they could either go towards the water or towards the grass or up the trees. And when we opened the cage, you were just so certain, Dad, that
I knew what was going to happen. They're going to see freedom and go.
That's what you thought. No, they were definitely juveniles, and usually raccoons are in groups with older members, and these were youngsters, and they were afraid, and they would not get out.
That one little guy put his little paw out and touched that grass and pulled back like he had been burnt.
Yeah, they had been raised in a concrete cage with toys and swings and hammocks and water, but they were not really ready for that freedom. They were afraid. So you remember what we did to get rid of them?
Turned it upside down and shook them out.
We had to shake them out. Remember that they were hanging on and everything?
Oh boy, when they were out, they disappeared like 60, went up little trees and hid somewhere. Once they were away from their security blanket, they said, "This is not a very safe place. I'm hiding."
That's right. Remember, we went out the next day to make sure
the rest of that day we fished a while, and then you cleaned the fish and left the guts over there so they'd have their first free meal.
Well, that's right.
In the wild.
On the house. And then we went back, remember, shortly thereafter, a day or so after, to see if they were okay. And remember, there was not hide nor hair of them. That's called a successful release.
Yeah.
That's right. Now, do you remember, Dad, the bald eagle?
Wow.
That you saw?
The word was that they're going to go over to the golf course, which was close to their house, and see if the eagle could fly well enough which they thought he was ready, but they needed to check it out. And they had a heck of a long cable on him, and that eagle went out higher and higher until he was clear out as far as he could go. Yeah. And then...
Well, then when they got that particular day, because they do that quite often with the eagles, because they're being rehabilitated, so they've generally been injured. A lot of times they hit power lines, and a lot of times they die. But once they get stronger and they want to build up their muscles before they actually release them, so what they do, they've worked this out, and they work with some Native Americans, and they really are respectful to those birds, whether they're golden eagles or bald eagles. They put a rope on their feet, on one foot, and they tether that super long rope to a tire just to make sure, but usually the handler holds the rope, and that way they get flight time, because in the beginning they're very, very weak, and they record all the flight time, how the flight went, and so on. That particular bird that you saw was near the end of its rehabilitation, and it was very strong that day. It had a very strong flight that day and had gone really, really high. And when they got it back to the
I want to tell about that. He was not happy. Man, they started reeling him in, and it was pretty clear he's pulling as hard as he could. I don't want to come home.
I'm ready to go.
I'm the American Eagle. I represent this country. Turn me loose. What do you mean I got to come back? And Ben, when that handler got him back and reached for him right up close, he got attacked.
Yep.
But
And luckily,
he was all geared up. He wasn't hurt.
yeah, they have gloves up to there, and they know what they're doing. They're trained. And that was just right after that. Then they did release that eagle in an area. They release them over a high point where they can really catch the wind and get up high to really look around and see the area, and with lakes around.
I think we're running out of time. I do want to mention one other time we were with you and Pam, and you guys released a pelican who didn't want to be released and kept coming back.
That pelican had evidently been got off course during a storm.
Okay, got to cut it off because we're getting
No,
close.
I bet there's 3 minutes.
Okay, go ahead.
So that pelican, in the throat, it feels like a wet nylon, and it would go, rah, 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 and we would feed it fish. We'd go fishing when we couldn't catch fish. We'd go to the store and buy it trout. And that was quite a bird. That bird was very cool. It had a terrible injury under its wing. Do you remember that? We'd take the spatula and just put that salve in there, but it had a complete recovery and eventually a successful release. So that's Lake Tahoe Wildlife Care, 530-577-CARE. Call there. Give a donation if you want. They could use it.
Hey, commercial.
Sorry. Bye.